From the early 18th century, the land that would become the United States was shaped by ambition, conflict, and change. In the 1700s, 13 British colonies stretched along the Atlantic coast of North America. These colonies were diverse in geography and economy, ranging from the farming communities of New England to the plantation-based societies of the southern colonies. Life was deeply connected to the land, trade, and the Atlantic world. Britain controlled colonial trade, imposed taxes, and enforced laws that increasingly frustrated colonial leaders and ordinary settlers alike. As the century progressed, tensions grew between the colonies and the British Crown, especially after Britain sought to recover debts from European wars by taxing the colonies without granting them representation in Parliament. Ideas of liberty, self-government, and natural rights spread through pamphlets, newspapers, and town meetings, inspired by Enlightenment thinkers and colonial experiences of local rule. By the 1760s and 1770s, protests against British authority intensified. Events such as the Stamp Act, the Boston Massacre, and the Boston Tea Party symbolized growing resistance. In 1775, armed conflict erupted between colonial militias and British troops, marking the beginning of the American Revolutionary War. The following year, colonial leaders declared independence, asserting that all men were created equal and possessed natural rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The war that followed was long and difficult, fought with limited resources against one of the world's most powerful empires. With the help of foreign allies, especially France, the colonies eventually secured victory. In 1783, Britain formally recognized the independence of the United States, creating a new nation built on revolutionary ideals. The early years of independence were filled with uncertainty. The first system of government, known as the Articles of Confederation, proved too weak to manage national finances, defense, and unity. In response, leaders gathered to draft a new constitution in 1787. This document established a federal system that balanced power between national and state governments and separated authority among legislative, executive, and judicial branches. The Constitution was ratified with the promise of a Bill of Rights, which guaranteed essential freedoms such as speech, religion, and due process. Under its first presidents, the United States sought stability, economic growth, and recognition on the global stage while avoiding entanglement in European conflicts. As the nation entered the 19th century, it expanded rapidly westward. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803 doubled the nation's size and opened vast lands for settlement. Exploration, migration, and economic opportunity drew Americans west, but this expansion came at a devastating cost to Native American nations who were displaced through treaties, warfare, and forced removals. The War of 1812 reaffirmed American independence, even as it exposed the nation's vulnerabilities. The 1800s were marked by profound transformation. The Industrial Revolution began to reshape the American economy, particularly in the northern states. New machines, factories, and transportation networks increased production and connected distant regions. Canals, railroads, and steam-powered ships revolutionized trade and travel, while cities grew rapidly as people sought industrial work. Immigration increased as millions arrived from Europe, bringing labor, culture, and diversity, but also facing discrimination and hardship. Meanwhile, the Southern economy remained heavily dependent on agriculture, especially cotton, which relied on the forced labor of enslaved African Americans. Slavery became the central moral and political issue of the nation. In 1861, these tensions erupted into the American Civil War. 11 Southern states seceded from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America. In 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation declared freedom for enslaved people in Confederate territories. The late 19th century saw rapid industrial expansion, driven by steel, oil, and electricity. Inventors and entrepreneurs transformed daily life with innovations in communication, transportation, and manufacturing. Railroads connected the continent, corporations grew in size and influence, and the United States emerged as one of the world's leading industrial nations. However, this growth brought stark inequality. Industrial workers faced long hours, low wages, and dangerous conditions, leading to labor movements and demands for reform. By the turn of the 20th century, The United States stood at a crossroads. It had evolved from a group of colonies into a unified nation with vast territory, a complex economy, and growing global ambitions. The ideals born in the 1700s had been tested by war, expansion, and social struggle, yet they continued to shape the nation's identity. As the country entered the modern age, the foundations laid over 2 centuries would influence its role in the world and the lives of generations to come.